destroyed the only thing I love. All right? There it is. What do you love?
I love poetry. And a glass of scotch. And, of course, my friend Baxter here.
Well, guess what? Now this is happening.
Excuse me. Excuse me. What are you doing?
That's how I roll.
Baxter. Huh? No!
I set out on this, and in earnest, all too familiar journey to address a poorly conceived adaptation that then had the gall to masquerade as something more principled in its conception than just another cliche-riddled and creatively bankrupt outing, so desperate to generate a quick buck, and on a popular existing property where nostalgia baiting is rife for the picking. In review of the first few episodes, I sought to poke fun at the absurd and rank hypocrisy with calling out a large chunk of a potential fan base as racist if they did not like the perceived tokenizing of a fantasy-based construct taking considerable influence from medieval Europe and more specifically the interlacing of Old English and Norse mythologies. While I could proceed to highlight the numerous issues I personally have with the perceived indoctrination of diversity, equity and inclusion through largely academia where supposed enlightened groupthink seeks to tell the masses how they too can signal their virtue, the notion of more diversity in mainstream media, at least I believe, can only yield of more creative and inspiring efforts, but this should not come from propping up or representing a specific group at the expense of another, or where it literally devolves into just another box-ticking exercise. Recently, and in contrast to the fare we've received of late, like the Rings of Power, I've been watching the television series Ted Lasso, and where I've progressed to the end of Season 2. In this series we have a very diverse cast, and among them some of the characters have become personal favourites. While it might be fair to say that Danny Rojas does lean, perhaps somewhat too heavily into stereotype, he does have a joyous catchphrase that I couldn't help but embrace around home in being a football enthusiast. But then you have the likes of Sam Obisanya, this shy, introverted, and talented winger from Nigeria, and who possesses strong national pride for his homeland and family. Even those excerpts from his story that could be deemed as woke, such as rejecting Ted's offering of a plastic soldier, or the episodes relating to an airline that has an ownership group responsible for polluting Africa,
turned the southern coast of Nigeria, my home, into a hellish, fiery swamp.
I think really works with the development of his character, and he becomes persistently more endearing and prominent within the narrative as the series progresses. Even Dr. Sharon, who at first comes across as a cold fish, becomes increasingly more interesting as she seeks to help Ted through his emotional challenges, while also learning things from him along the way. Simply put, I think it's a right shame when storytelling becomes secondary to diversity. Next, what happened to our heroines? While we've many strong, combative heroines already,
You're a terminated fucker.
it appears that we can no longer have those that possess of more subtle strengths. Seeking a piece of gaming nostalgia, and coincidentally upon starting this channel, I'd been playing Valkyrie Profile Silmeria for the PlayStation 2, and the main character of the story happened to go by the name of Alicia. When I got Alicia upon a random spin of the name generator, I then knew this was meant to be. While perceived as shy, meek and delicate at the beginning of the game, she undergoes considerable growth and develops a newfound confidence and possesses a strong sense of duty to her kingdom and her friends that culminates in her ultimate sacrifice that saves the world. The Galadriel we know was not this reckless warrior and this belligerent force bent on vengeance. It seemed the creators swapped the Galadriel and Elrond narratives. You could see the development of Elrond from this reckless and overzealous personality to a more seasoned commander, as cited during the War of the Last Alliance, and where Galadriel would develop her diplomacy and leadership through various arrangements and meetings with the inhabitants of Middle-earth. Of course, this is all subjective, but I didn't feel anything for the characters or take anything away from this story, nor was there much spectacle to appreciate despite the remarkable budget reported. There isn't anything else more I wish to say, except for what comes next. It is time to embark upon what I wanted to explore once I'd honed my editing skills from abysmal to somewhat passable. It is time for me to explore a passion of mine that should have proven evident from episode 6. The time shall soon come to talk of horses and muskets.